So these are my fights for Monday. I'm actually recording this as a voiceover because I did not record the voice when I was initially taking part in those fights. So this is my first attack actually. It's a pretty simple comp. I did not think that I would outspeed the RB. In fact, but since I did that, it was very easy. Just S3 him. So I was planning my next course of action. I wasn't sure if sealing with Archdemon works when Rylet is buffed with evasion. So I just wanted to conserve my heals and see where it goes. So this is actually the first attempt, and it seems that it's working really well because she actually missed the attack but did not miss the debuff. So this is just a placeholder turn first and foremost. So it was nice to get the defense buff due to being attacked by dark units, so I just S3'd Doris herself. Ruel does Ruel things, but since I now know that I can seal with a plum, I tried to do it, but it just didn't connect. So once again, it's mostly just a placeholder turn, but then I realized that the evasion was gone due to Ayala Violin, so I just wanted to delete Rylet then. So like you can see, my TM Luluka is on Symbol of Unity, so I didn't have to worry about the MLDB that dropped before. And now it's just a game of kill the Ruel. Nothing we've never seen before. So. Well, I was attacking like with 30 minutes left in the war, so I was actually kind of worried that I might take too long with the Ruel. But unfortunately this wasn't the case. And she wasn't very tanky. Actually, the first thing that I thought when I killed the Rylet was that this guy's gear is just not as good, and his units were very squishy for what they are. Like here, she's over half HP, and I just did 15k to her. So this is the second fight. I actually, since I saw 3 bruisers or 3 tanks, I figured that Ervalen is the answer here. And since they have Lilias and Senya can counter-attack many times, then that I figured that Rana is the way to go as the healer. I was actually very lucky to crit the Senya here. This made the fight much easier, but you can see through the barrier I did like 13k to NFCC. So this kind of supports the point with their gear being low. So here was also the first crit on Lilias. Like many people's Charles crits K-runs and other fire units. So my Ervalen is actually kind of similar. He's like the offense Charles in terms of critting the elemental disadvantage units. And this is just a very simple game of kill the FCC now and then focus on Lilias. I was kind of disappointed that my Rana was slow enough to be targeted by Lilias because I knew from a couple of moments before that I will never abuse the counter on Ervalen. So this was kind of a pain, but nothing that I cannot solve with my Ervalen just creating fire on and on and on when he had the chance to do it. I like this animation actually, so even though I probably could have just killed her with an S1, I did the S3 just because anyways. And this is actually the first miss on Lilias, I think. No, this was the crit. Yeah, I missed here. I think that I have crit all times, all the attacks that Ervalen did on Lilias. I think that they were all crits. Except the last one that will be the killing blow in a couple of seconds. Here she tries to bury herself to prolong her life. but sentence has already been made, and she died to probably the first non-crit attack of her Valen. So this is pretty funny. And now I'm actually spending a couple of seconds trying to pick my next target. And I was looking for any towers that just would need just a win to be taken down. And that's when I saw this fort was really, really close. So I just checked what comps you guys were using for the top team. And the top team is actually the one that killed me, like the one that I actually drew against. So my inspiration was already drawn from you. I only needed to check if I have all the proper artifacts on for the bottom team, actually. And my Melissa needs a Tagger health. It doesn't matter what level it is, as long as I have a maxed one on onslaught. So that on Bazaar, sorry, and this is actually me trying to look for Bazaar. And I needed to pick Melissa for the Landy. Now this is the top team. I was wondering what damage to bring here, actually. And I decided on designing a little bit just because I would be able to cleanse the initial debuffs at a point. So my plan was to just seal RB, kill him, seal the Rylet, kill him as well. So here the counter on designing a little bit actually worked. The first one would have done the job just fine, I think, with 5 debuffs. But it's good that the other one happened anyways. And the painful moment number 1 was here, the RB lift. And I felt like I need to heal myself, and I actually forgot that I was able to increase the cooldown on Rylet for 1 turn. And here was the pivotal moment, I would say, because I was hoping that Archdemon would proc the S2 after receiving Rylet, but it didn't happen, and I was so confident that it did. I actually attacked this RB, and as I was pressing the button, I noticed that he wasn't sealed anymore. So the gap return, actually, it did hurt, but it wasn't the worst thing to happen. So I noticed that Violet is coming, so I had to heal my Doris. Because this would happen, and she would have died if I just healed Archdemon instead. So here my thinking was to bring RB low enough, so if Archdemon procs her S2, then I would be able to chip at both the dark units. And once again, it didn't proc, even though he was sealed, so I lost another like 30 to 70, right? And then at this point, when my Archdemon died, I knew that I was on the losing side. And then when we had this dual attack, I knew that it's lost. So I just actually escaped the battle to conserve my units. And here is one of the two times that I faced this team with my offense. So it's just very simple. Burn the Bazaar, hoping to hit the Tisserine, even if she's on MLDB. And here we buff up and we burn S1 to kill Tisserine due to ignoring damage sharing effects on Lucas S1. And here is the quote-unquote nuke on Landy. Since I have no attack buff on this team, this doesn't work as well as I would have liked it. But I also missed the curse, and at this point I was kind of worried. But then I remembered they are buff blocked, so they cannot be buffed. And since since Landy was debuffed so much, and I only had 2 buffs on me, I know that her S3 will be the weakened version, so I didn't really worry about my units dying at this point. And this is just, mopping up, trying to finish the FCC before she can actually kill Bazaar. And this is one of my lucky dual attacks. Well, lucky because it happened, not lucky because it actually won me the game. I would have won anyways. And this is actually, just couldn't believe that I left this fort with 20 havoc left. I was frantically looking if I can find an opponent to kill to score the 200 havoc we needed, but unfortunately there was no such enemy, no such tower was still standing, and I couldn't attack the fort for the second time. So I just picked an opponent that I thought I would be able to win. It took a moment, but yeah, this is I think well, it took me so long to actually pick out an opponent. I was feeling pretty down at this moment, and yeah, I just decided to test myself against a fort. So the top team is the bottom team from the previous fight, so it's just a matter of swapping the team over, even though I misclicked. Yeah, and the positioning of my units at the top team doesn't really matter, because I only have self-imprints, if any. So it doesn't matter where they stand relative to each other. And for the bottom team, I was actually trying to figure out if I can maybe add in Mighty Cern as well, or who else did I redo recently? Yeah, Discern or even Landy, because I've realized that I haven't used Landy in a long time. But yeah, this was basically a repeat of the bottom team last time around. I hit Tisern again, so it made it very, very easy to just remove her from the equation. And this is like the ideal scenario of what happens with this team, because I was actually able to curse Landy in this one case. And since Landy is cursed and they are both buff blocked, I could already start pummeling at FCC as soon as I got my next turn. So even though this Landy hurt because I wasn't able to use Bazaar's S2 before she went, I was kind of worried that she might be able to kill if her damage was big enough. But we have 15k S3 from GM Luluka on FCC, which killed the Landy by a curse. And from here is just another FCC dying. And the bottom team for this fight, well, I was very happy to let them go. I was actually lucky enough to 15% both immunities on my side. So for the first time, and SSB was just the FRS MVP this fight. And I was actually kind of worried because of this, that my Dilbet would not be able to proc her passive before Baal moved. But this was fortunately not the case. I was able to S3 with her just to free Emil Baal. And it was at this moment when I held the button on S2 that I realized, oh, damn it, my Baal is not Molad at all. But still, he slapped all 3 units, which was what I wanted him to do. So here goes F10 then. Very simple. So I was thinking that I can sleep the Ravi perhaps, but it didn't happen. And I was confident that my SSB's S2 will kill Sirius at that point, and it did. So we have one of the final attacks, well, the final attack. And that's how my fights went this war. And unfortunately I wasn't able to bring the fort down and kill it. So these are the units that I brought for Monday's fights. Here is Melissa. Well, her damage is pretty scuffed. She doesn't have to be very durable for what I need her to do, because I only need her to try and delete the Landy or bring her low enough with Curse on that she dies when I focus on FCC next. Here is my SSB that I brought. Well, she's just a drink battery, really. She's somewhat tanky. Well, not as tanky as I would have liked her to be, but she's kind of able to survive stuff. She's well over 3500 attack. This is also what I wanted. And her crit is nothing special really, but it's just there to amplify the damage when she does crit. Here is my Ervalin on maxed portrait. Well, he's just there to be used boosted by A-lots and delete any tanks. And actually a fun story is how his crit rate on fire units is like 75% or something. Just this war, he only missed 1 crit on Lilius, I think. Well, so he's only just damage, really, as well. Here is my Roana, still in her initial build. Well, maybe not initial, because I brought her closer to 100 FRS, just to minimize the chances of DPS units debuffing her. Dedicated buffers will still do that easily, but I just don't have enough FRS gear to go around. I actually want to make her like 180 speed and 20k-ish HP, so this is something that I will work on soon. Yeah, but for now she's kind of doing her job as well. So here's my one of my debut boys, Sage Ball. He's actually unmolled. I noticed this when recording the fight. I so forgot about mulling some units that I wanted to use, but yeah, that's life. He still did his job. He slapped people, and that's what I wanted him to do first and foremost. So he did just that. He's like Hidden Darkness's RTA Sage Bal, but well, his tankiness is lower. That's why I'm using Proof of Valor on him. But I wanted to have about 50, maybe 60% effectiveness. 56 is where it ended for now. And he's also over 200 speed, just to be able to actually take turns as well. Here is Doris. Well, her FRS is also lackluster, just like Roana's, but like I said, I don't have enough FRS gear, maybe because I neglected building it first. But she's tanky enough. She survives most riots without any hitches. She's also decently fast, just to be able to provide the heals where they still matter. So here is the new designer Lilibet. I wanted her to be somewhat of a bruiser, but the damage is just not there. Well, 180 speed should be enough to, at our level, to cut with into most F10E or series comps, and she did just that in the war as well. She's kind of tanky and can do some damage, but it's nothing really to write home about. Well, she's on counter because I'm a counter player apparently these days for Gilbert. And I was actually thinking of maybe keeping her MOA pretty low to account for the odd counter every now and again. But I will probably just max MOA her for the CP if nothing else. This is Archdemon. Her defense is very, very low, and she's actually supposed to have this big base defense. So this is something that I should be working on later. But that's what where the gear ended, to be honest. And I wanted her to have about 3k attack. So if she turns out to be able to S3 in a given fight, then her burns will supplement some damage at least as well. So here is just pure speed. Onslaughts. I did not want to make him as fast as I possibly could. That's for series mostly, but he's decently fast at 250, so he's able to cut most of the comps that are bruiser heavy. And these are the comps that I want to bring him and Ervalen to mostly. So he's doing his job just alright. And here is TM Luluka. I actually would want her to be somewhat faster, like 240, 250 maybe someday. If I can keep the damage, that is. And I also like how her defense is over 1100. So she uses stealth or or I use her with FCC or something, and she has a barrier. And she's doing just fine in terms of surviving. And the final unit that I brought is Bazaar. I recently redid him just to be somewhat tanky-ish on the defense side, first and foremost. Well, his still HP is so low that he will probably die to a straight AoE here and there, but his job is mostly there to enable TM Luluka and Melissa to remove Landy and Cicerin. So these are my units. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.